Welcome to I Finally Get It. This week's guest is professional musician Hunter DeBlanc. In studio with me, as always, Dustin Webb, our producer. I'm your host, Jeff Martin. Let's get it.
I think I've realized a number of different things over the course. It's never been one light bulb or idea. I could never confine it to one thing. It's been several moments over the years where I've had an experience that either opened a new door for me that I didn't know I previously had access to or could even walk through, or and it put me in rooms with people that I looked up to and never thought that I could look at them as peers. One of the biggest ones to me, or moments for me, the I get it moment, was when I got a contract performing as the piano bar entertainer on a cruise ship in Australia.
Oh man, we got to hear about that.
Have you ever heard of the 1,000-hour rule? Mm-hmm. It really made me fully embrace that train of thought or that concept. I had been performing for almost a decade at that point, live, as my full source of income. And I'd been out of college for a few years, and this contract fell into my lap. It was an email I got, and it was like, hey, this contract is open. We're looking for a piano bar entertainer in Australia, 6-month contract. And I hadn't been out of the country since 2004, Cancun senior trip. So this was, it was overwhelming, but also it was the saving grace for my music career at the time. I had been playing in bars, and I was just your run-of-the-mill bar musician. And had it not been for that contract, that probably would have either fizzled out or been the extent of my music career.
Yeah, were you thinking about giving it up?
It was not only just thinking about it, it was just I wasn't making any money doing it. And if I was, it was working 5 or 6 nights a week doing it, just throwing my back into it, wearing myself out. And then the contract came to me, and it really put me in this environment where it forced me to, it's almost like I lied on the resume. Not really, but I was not qualified enough to be there. And being forced into that environment, it was like a sink or swim kind of moment. Yeah. And I chose to just swim like hell. Yeah. I went down to the depths of the ship. I practiced every night. I learned every song that the passengers, it was a different country, different culture, different songs they like. I learned that very quickly. And then I had to learn all those songs. And it was like a crash course in that. But not only that, it was performing for those 3 nights every night just made you turn into a machine almost. Yeah. Just something would click on. You would turn it on and turn it off. And before that, I don't think I really got that. I don't think I understood. I think I just looked at it as something that was cool. It was fun. It was music. I didn't really have a plan, and that helped me really get it as a performer. I think that was one of the biggest moments for me.
Would you say that when you were in the bars, entertaining people, you're the piano bar kind of guy, right? Mm-hmm. And then when you got invited to go on a cruise ship in a cruise ship company, the lights are on you. They advertise for you, and people come in. Did you feel like you'd kind of stepped it up on your professionalism level?
Absolutely. 100%. Before that, I think I would kind of not really... showmanship is one of the biggest things. It taught me how to be a performer, and in terms of professionalism, it really taught me to put that mask on. Like, hey, no matter what's going on... I remember one of the hardest times for me, I'm on the ship, I get a message that one of my best friends has passed away.
Oh, my goodness.
I have to perform in 1 hour. I message my boss. I'm like, hey, I'm a wreck. And he said, hey, man, these people have paid for their cruise, and I hate to put it to you this way, but we need you to power through tonight, and then you can have tomorrow off. So I did it, and I remember crying during the performance, and one of the passengers asked me what's going on. I just told him, and then that created this personal aspect with the passengers. I hear from those people every week now.
What?
And they live in it, Most of them live in Australia. Yeah. Haven't seen them in 7 years, but I hear from them almost every week.
You're talking about bonding with the audience, and that's bonding with your customer, really.
It made them not even clientele or a crowd or an audience anymore. They were people. They were friends. They became peers.
So you did the cruise ship for 6 months. what happened next? What'd you end up doing?
Toward the end of the contract, you find out if you're going to be asked to do another one. By the end of that contract, I had been bumped up to the main theater show, doing 2 shows. Have you ever been on a cruise?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Have you been to the big theater?
Mm-hmm.
So they put me in the big theater once per cruise, 2 shows, one at 7 o'clock and one at 9, doing a show of me doing Australian favorites, and we called the show Hunter Down Under.
Oh, that's great.
It was brilliant. The name was brilliant. It would have been something Dustin would have gotten a kick out of for sure. Hunter Down Under every time, and I got it. And that was the most nervous I've ever been performing in my entire life. Was the first time, and they told me the number of heads to the door, and it was 1,200.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm peeking out through the curtains behind the back, and my palms are sweating, and the sound guys are like rubbing my shoulders like, it's all right, you got this, because the way this fell into my lap, I'm in the piano bar performing. I look to my left. I have a boss. They call him the entertainment director.
Mm-hmm.
He's standing there, and he points at his watch, and he says, take a break. And I come to him, and he says, hey, our main performer for tonight has strep throat or something. I forget what it is. They've fallen ill. Cannot perform. Can you please come up with something in the next hour? I said, sure. I wanted the spotlight to go from, a few hundred people to that. I wanted to make that jump. I didn't realize how violent the jump was going to be. But by the end of that second show, I was right at home. I walked out onto that stage. I remember I was sweating so much. By the time I got out in front of the house lights, I felt like I was under a heat lamp. And I could feel the cold sweat on the back of my neck. But by the end of the first song, I think my heart had calmed down. I have a video of it, by the way, too. When I say I rushed through that first song, I was a nervous wreck. But by the end of it, caught my breath, focused on a few crowd members that I had recognized throughout the cruise, and that was it. And after that, I was asked to come back every other 3 months to do the contracts in Australia.
Oh, okay.
So I did that for 2 years.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking 6 months, and there was a.
Oh no, it was I couldn't turn down the Hunter Down Under.
Hunter Down Under, you're right.
So I went back for a few more contracts, and then I resigned because I had started simultaneously releasing music on the cruise ship, and some of it had been featured by Huffington Post and a few of these other outlets. And one of my agents or somebody said, "You need to get off of this cruise ship and go do originals."
Yeah.
So I resigned from the cruise, and I tossed my hat at that for about a year.
Anything come of that, or just a lot of experience adding toward that?
A decent amount of experience, and then lo and behold, I was offered a contract with Carnival Cruises in the U.S., which was double the salary of the contract in Australia, and another benefit, it's not an Australian's culture to tip. So you're in a piano bar, you're doing an all-request show, you kind of expect some kind of compensation, but when you get over there and realize it's not part of their culture, like to the point where I left a tip for a guy at a burger place, he chased me down the street. I said, "You left this?" And I said, "It's a tip." And he said, "We can't accept it. We legally can't accept it."
Oh my goodness. That's
how it's a different culture.
I guess you've always put out music though.
Since so this is actually the 10-year anniversary of my first original music releases.
Yeah. What are you most proud of?
Most proud of? I would say what I've built as a musician in terms of, I hate to call it a brand, but I think that what I have created, the experience that people get at my live shows, is something they can't really get at other places.
Yeah.
So a brand, and in other words, the brand. I don't like calling it that because it's kind of reduces it to something sounds very capitalist.
Yeah, it
it's
does.
My brand.
Commercial, right?
Commercial, yeah.
When you're an artist, however, that is your brand. The experience is the brand, and how people receive that. And
that's what I would say. That's what I'm most proud of, is the dedication and the realization that that some people think that they can just grab an instrument and do something, which is what I thought when I first did it. My parents put me through years of piano lessons, and I thought that I could just get out there and do it. It takes time and it takes experience. So I'm proud of the experiences that I've had.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So did you have an inspiration or was it the hours and hours of piano lessons?
I think that might have actually been the deterrent.
Yeah, I know. It's like my kids. We tried, but it didn't take.
I think that was probably a deterrent for me, was the idea of the piano lessons being so formal and being something that was required, mandatory, and it almost felt like a punishment as a kid. It was like, all your other friends are out playing sports. What are you doing? You're sitting with the piano teacher, watching them from the window.
Yeah.
I'd say my biggest inspiration that really made me want to do music was meeting some of the bands when they were about my age and getting to hang out with them and realizing that people that I looked up to and was like, oh my God, I want your autograph. And then like an hour later, I was like, this guy's just a kid. Just like me. Yeah. He had no, left from right, had to do his taxes, anything. And it made me realize that it's not that unrealistic to want the things that they have, or to, be like, I could be on that stage in the next year.
Yeah. And it's a journey, but it is hard work. I have a friend I went to high school with who was the drummer, the original Better Than Ezra.
Oh, okay, awesome.
And so I've known him since I was in like 9th grade, 50 years, whatever. But it's amazing to watch somebody start out on a journey like that, make it, and then in his case, Kerry Bonicaz, he just decided not to do it anymore. And so it's and he's a great businessman today. But what I guess I want to get from you is the experience of being an artist on this side, but you're actually a business owner on this side because you're a self-employed professional musician. Dustin and I don't get many musicians in this studio, but you're a business owner. So tell me about that knowledge and that experience.
One of my biggest pieces, and I wouldn't even call it knowledge, it's something that I feel like I know nothing about, is budgeting.
Yeah.
That would be something that I wish if I could go back and do something different, or something that I wish I knew more about in terms of business, it would be budgeting, or being able to set my rates for what I'm worth instead of just trying to take the gig for whatever they're offering.
Yeah.
And that's one reason I recently acquired management, which was something I didn't have for years. I was my own manager. I was doing all the negotiations. Once I finally found somebody who was in my corner, who believed in what I was doing as much as I did, that's when things really turned around for me, and we could start asking for rates, because everyone's having trouble getting by these days.
Yeah.
And the last thing I wanted to do was continue to take gigs that I was basically almost paying to play them.
Yeah.
Paying for the plane ticket, paying for the hotel, and then getting there, and they pay you exactly that amount. It's like, well, I gotta not break even anymore. So
yeah, well, I'm telling you, there are a lot of service-based business owners out there that deal with the exact same thing. Music, one thing, offering some kind of service, it's the same thing. And so I love that you're bringing up that the rates and budgeting, because it just doesn't come natural to everybody.
No, it's always been a messy situation for me, and it would be in everyone's best interest, if anyone's looking to get started on something like that, find someone to deal with your finances. Don't try to do it yourself. Don't try to negotiate with people directly, because no matter what, I feel like always emotions get involved or something. Or, I can do it for, I'll do it for this.
Yeah.
And then once you do it for that, you can never ask for more, almost, it feels like. So
yeah. Look. Oh, I get it. I finally get it. Here at Company Growth Academy, we've begun teaching 20-minute growth strategies. They're free, they're fast, and they're full of information to help you grow your company. For more information and to sign up for our advanced notification list, just go to 20togrow.com, 20togrow.com. Let's get it. So you just had a light bulb moment. What I'm hearing is Who Not How. There's a book called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. You got to find who is the expert at what you don't do well, not wasting time and time and time trying to figure out how to do something. Mm-hmm. And so one of your discoveries has been just that. Find the expert, allow them to do it, and go on doing what you do, what you're an expert at.
This is somewhat related, but also kind of different. I realize a lot of people want to do stuff like, say if you're taking guitar lessons, you're not going to call yourself a guitarist, right? You're learning to do something. A lot of people want to skip that step. And I feel like I kind of did at one point too. I was playing bass for a band for years, and then when I wanted to play piano, I didn't really remember how to play piano.
Really?
I had 7 years of lessons up until age 10 or 11, and then a hiatus until college. So I got a keyboard, and I wanted to leave this band, and I didn't want to play bass anymore. I wanted to play the piano. I didn't put in the time that I should have at that point. And I feel like a lot of people try to cut corners in that aspect. I would highly recommend never doing that. Put in the practice, put in the work. You'll thank yourself later when a problem arises and you're like, you know what? I practiced for this. I'm prepared for this. So,
yeah. So it's up here as well.
Very much so.
But you practice to become perfect, and you have to continue practicing.
No, I still practice to this day. I would
amazing.
never recommend stopping practicing. I would practice every day. I don't want to get rusty. I don't want to forget something. I want to feel like I'm always on top of my game. So I'm constantly trying to, I'm never like I'm too good to go and practice that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. How many instruments do you play?
So technically 2, but I've incorporated something that's not as conventional of an instrument. I play. I've taught myself how to do they call it finger drumming. So it'd be like a drum pad with a bunch of squares on it. And I've learned to program those and play them and loop them, so I'm my own drummer.
Electronic? Okay, yeah.
So it's crazy. So I learned how to do that and play piano and sing at the same time. So that was one. I think I contribute a lot of that to alcohol. You just get drunk and then during COVID, I took that, however long we were locked inside, and just focus on learning a new task.
That is crazy.
I can play the harmonica. I cannot do a Blues Traveler solo. I cannot do a John Popper.
John Popper's the best of the business.
I cannot rival John Popper, but I can play a mean Piano Man solo on the harmonica. Dustin is correct.
Nice.
And then I know a few other things on it, but I would never call myself, I would never be like, oh yeah, I can play harmonica.
Yeah, sure.
Be like if you know how to play a few songs on guitar, you don't be like, I can play guitar. Yeah, I'm a guitarist. So.
Yeah, that's nice, man. That's really cool. And you just happened to mention John Popper, one of my favorite bands. I would say they're my favorite band.
Really? Blues Traveler?
Hook, man.
Hook is, it's a great song.
It's the best song in the world. Tell me what's next for you and your career.
So what's next is one of the, you asked me earlier what I'm most proud of. This is probably it. In November of this year, I am performing alongside my musical idol. You asked one of the reasons I started doing music, and it was because of the bands I met that were my age. The reason I started playing piano again was because of a man called, his name is Andrew McMahon, and he was the frontman for the bands Something Corporate and Jack's Mannequin in the early 2000s. Well, now he releases music under the moniker Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness, and he tours with Billy Joel.
No kidding.
Opens up for Billy Joel at some of the stadium shows, and somehow a few years ago we got linked up, and this year he asked me to perform on his cruise in November. It's his own cruise. He's performing in all of his bands, playing his entire discography, and he asked me personally to perform on it.
That is wild.
That is one of the things I'm looking forward to the most this year.
Good for you. That's really good.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
What would you tell somebody who, let's say they're an artist, anything, acting, singing, music, painting. What would you tell them about the business side of their art?
I know that the business side of it can feel like it makes it not feel artsy, or it takes away it kind of feels like it's no longer art. It feels like it's a product at that point.
Got it.
And I know that can be scary for people. It's scary to me sometimes too. If I write a song or something now, everyone wants to go viral. everyone wants their views, they want their content shared. And I think that hinders a lot of the creativity. People are saying, are other people going to like this? You know, they're so worried. Are people going to like this? And people forget that one of the things that makes art so interesting is when people don't like it, you know, and it brings up a conversation. So don't strive for perfection. A lot of people like to talk about doing stuff, and then they realize they've been talking about it so long that they never finished it.
Yeah.
Try to finish what you started. And in terms of business, it's hard to say. It's hard for me to give advice on that because it's still, I would say if you're really looking for something that is going to make you successful in art as an artist, find what you love, find your niche, and then stick to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, another light bulb moment. And, you know, it's so interesting hearing you because you said stick to it, and then you said find your niche and let's stick to that. And so the truth of the matter is, if it's feeding you, and it's just what I'm hearing, if it's feeding you and you're putting out an art product that you're happy with, keep doing that, and you'll start to get recognized by other people. The same thing in business. You know, if you have a product that solves a problem, continue solving that problem, and you're going to be discovered. That's a better tip than you might have thought. That's great.
I just feel like a lot of people try to reinvent themselves and try to rebrand and try to, people are doing this now. Maybe they won't like this as much. I'm guilty of it. But I realize that now with, like I said, the brand that I've built, I've had people that have been there since the beginning, and they've seen me try other things. But like I said, once I found my thing, and even though I guess I was being a little bit rebellious against, sometimes you try to bite the hand that feeds. Like, people really liked me doing this one thing, and they knew me for that so well that I started to resent it, to where I tried to show them, oh, look, I don't do that anymore, kind of thing. But sure enough, that's what they liked me for. Or that's what they were attracted to the show for. So find your niche, stick to it. Eventually something will stick, and if it doesn't, then get in a different business.
Yeah, I love that.
Cut your losses. Yeah.
So another book reference. I read a book called Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield. And in the book, he kind of mentioned James Taylor. He said, James Taylor is a professional. Do you know how many times he has not wanted to sing Fire and Rain? You know what I mean? When he goes in, but that's what the people want. So in some way, you have to give the people what they want.
Exactly. You can't, it's like, here's a perfect analogy. It's like the band who goes on tour and they don't play any of their hits. Yeah. And it's like, the fans are like, well, what, you know, we get it. It's, as an artist, it's your show. It's your prerogative to do whatever you want. But at the end of the day, those people might not come back now.
That's right.
Now you've lost a customer.
And you have to ride the line between commercial success and art. Because you got to keep getting paid for what you do to keep doing what you can do, right? So there's that balance. It's really interesting in your world.
I would definitely say, if you don't enjoy doing something anymore, don't necessarily quit. If you do some form of art, whatever it may be, for years and years and years, and it's just not as fulfilling anymore. Say it does, it's not in your heart anymore, but it's still paying the bills. I would say find a way to find something that refreshes your outlook. I hated doing the piano bar gigs in restaurants for so long. And then a couple years ago, I did one that was just so enjoyable, and I hated being in the background. I wanted the attention. I was so used to being in the spotlight and being on stage that way, being in the background, the playing where people eating their food and somebody telling you, hey, could you turn it down? Oh, I didn't like that. Once I realized that it's super easy work, and at the end of the day, it's playing music and you're getting paid for it. Yeah. And I need to just appreciate it, and just, I don't have to do it forever.
Yeah, sure.
So I would say don't get disgruntled too easily.
I imagine it is tough. If you have your sights set on a certain goal and you continue in this mode of one vehicle to entertain people, it can get kind of routine and rudimentary.
It just feels very static sometimes. It just feels like tossing, pebbles into a huge rock pile or drops of water into an ocean. But it all matters. I would say, even the smallest restaurant gigs that I've done over a decade ago that I don't even remember, some of those people still follow me around to this day.
That's incredible.
So the other day, I played a gig. I hadn't seen these people in 15 years, and they said, we saw you at Walk-Ons the week it opened.
No way.
In 2011, 2010. I was like, how'd you find me? They said, we saw a flyer on Facebook. And I said, we hadn't seen your name since then. So,
that's incredible.
And at that moment, I was like, I'm so grateful for that experience because now we have each other's contact information. They're buying tickets to my shows now. It's cool to see how things happen.
That's great. You have audiences listening to you. You have people following. How do you try to leave an audience different and better than before they came and saw you?
So one of the things that always resonates with me, and I try to tell people aren't going to remember anything but how you made them feel. At the end of the day, however you made that audience feel is going to be what they remember. They're not going to remember, unless you have the wackiest shirt ever. They're not going to remember what you're wearing. They're not going to remember, anything else but how they felt. Try to connect with them. Don't try to just play music at people or throw your art at people. Try to make a connection because that's the only way you're ever going to have a fan base. Yeah. Is a connection of some sort. It's hard to say what to leave an audience with. I would just like them to always, when they have that memory, just think of a positive emotion or some emotion. Say if your art makes people sad, go all out with that, but make them feel something. Make people feel something with you. Make your audiences feel something. Don't pander too much, but that would be my piece of advice for that. Yeah. The audience will always remember how you made them feel.
So I want you to talk to your audience. I want you to invite them to your next show and tell them what they can expect.
So if you're looking for a show that's a blend of live music and sort of a DJ, and you're looking for that dose of nostalgia that's not rehashing something you've heard done 1,000 times, I would highly recommend coming to my show. I'm very passionate about what you guys are passionate about.
Thanks for tuning in to I Finally Get It. To learn more about what Hunter's up to, please visit our show notes. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you're an entrepreneur or business owner and you have a light bulb moment that would help another business owner, please reach out to me at jeff@ifinallygetit.com.